mean, if it's an older one, I mean, it would fall off. Yeah, if we would receive the award, then it would
Maybe
show.
it might have been June. It was right before I came into office. That's why it's on my Jason and he sent them, but it was never shown. It's about 6 spent.
We would have a fund number set up, and it would show up on this one.
I was wondering, I'd asked him about to look into it and find out what's in it for. Because there were several categories.
And he's told me that it was all spent. That there was no change.
What I can do is see what spend money on that, and then
It's very strange.
He said he would.
if we, I don't set up a fund unless we have. I don't want to say not received it until I think I mean, logically, I would have created a fund. they get them,
Segments.
if they get them,
As of 10, like,
correct.
it's just that one.
Yeah, this is as of 10:31. If they don't give us any information, we just provide the posters. And I think what the note says there is that that's not a reconciled balance on that number. That's just what the statement says. Is what you have that. That's what it says.
event center, we, paid for it in full, now we're using it to pay for the hotel, and once that's done, we can pull that money back. That's why I was saying, we're not, I mean, we're not broke, we're not.
So how much money are we talking about? Because everything I've seen doesn't show that it's a substantial amount of money. Right now, I think it's what, how much do you?
In the casino right now, as of December total, they have 1.17 million total. The repair and maintenance account is sitting at 141,000. I
Now,
think
that million you're talking about, is this in that reserve account she's talking
that's
about?
all of the casino accounts together. So total, the casino has 1.1 million. No, just in the bank.
In the bank.
In the bank.
And we have to keep the amount of money that we have to have for the bankroll.
Right.
And we don't ever wanna get below that, but anything, and probably right now, maybe 400 to 500,000 right now, right? You said there's 1.1 in the bank?
Right now, your bankroll doesn't look too hot. Right now, your bankroll on hand for that day is actually, you're under what you should be. Next day, which includes your drop and any money that comes in from the next day, you're good. You're at 1.3. But that 1.3 includes all that bank information. So just in case you was to have to pay everything out in the casino, everybody hit a jackpot, everything was paid out, you would have 1.2 in excess. But that includes your bank accounts. So you have to keep that in mind. So if you just do away with the bank accounts right now, as of the end of December, you don't have enough money in the casino itself to cover if something was paid, if you had to pay everything out.
And so that's what I was saying, maybe $400,000 or $500,000 of that would be, I think he always says they keep enough in the bank account to cover that bankroll.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what he always says, is that you don't ever wanna get below that, so that's why if the bankroll is 600,000 and that's how much is at the casino, then to keep at least that amount in the bank to cover it.
Yeah, you have to cover everything that hits that next day, and which includes your bank accounts, anything that was in the machines and anything like that. You have to have enough money. But right now, like I said, this is the first time I've ever seen it, and I didn't even know it was a negative until I just looked at it, that you don't have enough money.
There's a depreciation amount too, right?
No, so the depreciation amount is just a calculated figure on the distribution itself. So that isn't included in the bank accounts at all. It's just a figure that's in there. The repair and maintenance account is that's the 141,000. That's the 2% that's held at the casino. The last few times that you had taken money for the hotel, and we'll see that when we go over our financials, that Glenn had asked that not come out of that 2% because they were holding that for some repairs that he had to do. But it's all the same pocket. You're just changing it from one pocket to another, so it doesn't really matter. But right now you have about 1.17 total. That's the total amount that the casino has. And within a good week, you're going to have close to a $200,000 check run almost every week. So right now, I mean, that's what you have.
What I was looking at was just a depreciation for December.
Uh-huh.
And that was 37.
Oh, that's on that. Yeah, so that's on that the distribution calculation, and that's just a figure. It's not like sitting in a bank account anywhere. It's just 2% of the depreciation that the casino has. Does that help?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, we'll move on to tab 11, page 1. And this is our schedule of net assets. This is a relatively new report we've had in there for, I don't know, maybe last year or so. And basically this just shows you that middle column, that would be everything that you purchased as far as fixed assets. So even though your fund balance may have gone down, as you can tell in the first column, you have something to show for it. You maybe went out and bought a car, you have a building, I mean, you have something for that. So that was a comparison, I think, that you all had requested a year or so ago. So as you can tell, if you compare, look at this fiscal year, our fund balance has gone down by 2.73%, but your investment fixed assets has increased by 2.5%. So that's good for this year. And then if you turn to the next page, page 2, it's just a table, a graph chart. Page 12, or tab 12, page 1, is your asset schedule, just listing the different asset categories that you have and the balances in those, along with the depreciation. And if you notice in the addition column, there's 513,705. That would be additions that you have in your work in progress. And the big bulk of that, I'm sure, is the museum. And that's it. And I did get a text back from Samantha, and she hasn't been notified about the 5,000 extra dollars.
I don't understand how they were done it, but I'm not supposed to know about
Right. So, I'll look into it some more on the computer and let you know. Yeah. All right, thank y'all. I'm gonna get on out of here. I've got an event I need to get to, so thank you. Thanks.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Okay, for those of you who don't know, I'm Laura, and I do the casino side of the financials, and I'm with Finley Cook. So these were also sent to you electronically, and those of you, I think the 3 of you have copies, so I'm going to go over that. Excuse me? I don't have any extra, I'm sorry. Were they not sent to you, Sandra? Yeah, are they not sent to you?
The last time I looked, they weren't, but I'm the one that I'm gonna check and see if they may have.
I don't remember who they were sent to. Yeah. Mhm. Yeah.
I was looking for that last one, I couldn't figure out what
Oh, okay.
But I saw some emails, but they weren't.
Yeah, there were some additional reports that you had requested, and we sent those to you.
Except for September.
Okay.
I asked for September.
Okay. So those additional reports you need September. Okay. I can do that for sure.
This is your live stream. Do you have anything to your live stream?
I don't care. It's really up to you. Okay. So you were needing the progressive and that balance sheet report. Okay.
Because we're trying to track those,
Mhm.
you're missing that piece.
Okay. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And before I forget, when you start talking, this is Patricia, she's our treasurer for the Dana Commission.
Okay.
When you send those to me, will you copy her on those?
Uh-huh.
That
And
should be on record.
So what's your email? Okay. Okay. We'll make sure that financial packet gets to you as well. I had thought they were being sent to you, so I apologize if they
I
weren't.
usually do.
Okay. Okay. We've had some changeover in staff over the last couple of months, so potentially that may have fallen off, and I apologize if that did happen. So we'll make sure it gets sent to you. Okay. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to start on page 2. This is our executive summary. It's just an overview of how the casino is doing. So I'm going to start with the first 4 columns, and that is November compared to December. As far as e-game revenue is concerned, you are actually down from November to December by $22,000 or 1.8%. And if you look down in the first, I think it's blue. I don't have a color copy. But the very first line that says coin in, that's the amount of players that you're getting in the seats. And so coin in isn't an issue compared from November to December. It's your hold percentage. It's the amount that the machines are holding. That could be due to jackpots or things like that, that the machines just didn't hold very well. So your hold percentage is down 10%, which is huge when it comes to hold percentage. So, like I said, November to December, your coin in was up. It's just you're holding. You're getting people in there. It's just not holding like it should be. And so overall net income or net revenue is down by 7.8%. Again, comparing October or November to December, or 123,000. Total operating expenses is also down by 10.3%. That goes hand in hand with when net income or your e-game revenue is down. Usually your expenses will be down as well, just because of commissions and compact fees that are directly related to how much revenue you have bringing in the machines. So that's not uncommon. When your e-game revenue is down, your expenses are probably going to be down slightly. So overall net income before transfers for November to December is up by 2.3%. So the offset in the decrease in expenses outweighed your loss in revenue. So that's good. Okay. Then now I'm going to look at the next 4 columns. So this is year to date. Your year started in October, so this is just the first quarter. Revenues, e-game revenues are down 7.3% or 297,000. Again, I want to jump down to coin in. So this is where your coin in plays a factor in here. Your coin in year to date compared to last year is down by 3.2 million. So that would explain why your revenue is down. Again, your hold percentage is down as well. So now you have less bodies in the seats and you're not holding as well. So that just contributes to a lower e-game revenue than you would normally have. Same story with expenses. Your expenses are down 11%. Same scenario. E-game revenue's down. Your compact fees, commissions, things like that are going to be down. So they're always offset. Overall net income before transfers for the year to date, you're up by 167,000 compared to last year, or 24.8%. So that, again, that offset in expenses, it looks like they're really trying to balance their expenses is offsetting that loss in revenue. Any questions on this particular page? No? Okay. Page 2 is just, page 3, sorry, my page numbers got cut off. I don't know what page I'm on. Yes, the chart. It's just a visual representation of how the casino's done for revenue, operating expenses, and net incomes over the last fiscal year to date in this fiscal year. Okay. I'm going to skip over to the trend, which is on page 8. So basically, this is just a line item by line item trend for your fiscal year to date. It shows, if you look at the first blue line, that your net income is down the lowest it's been so far year to date, or your net win, I'm sorry. Your net win is the lowest it's been. However, like I said before, the expenses are also lower, so it's offsetting each other. So you're still having a win or a net income for the period. Last time I was here, I pointed out the discount revenues, so you could see the 3 different types of discount revenues that the food and beverage department is offering. So you would have to add the restaurant revenue and the 3 discount revenues to get total gross revenue for the food and beverage department. But that's something that you guys wanted to see, so it's still there. Another new thing that we were added about, 6 or 7 lines up from the bottom, you'll see rider fees. That is the shuttle fees that you're charging, I think, the employees, is that correct? To take the shuttle back and forth to the casino. So that's going to be a new line item going forward. For the shuttle, that's going to be on page, towards the back. Find it? Page 28. 28 is that shuttle department. So it tells you the total expenses for the shuttle. So your $2,200 fees don't even come close to the amount of expenses that you're paying, but it does take a little bit away from it. 28. Obviously, the majority of your expenses are going to be your wages for the drivers and then fuel. So those are the two biggest line items. Yes, ma'am.
I think they've adjusted the schedule. And we talked to Glenn about it. Oh, really?
Brian had, they come here at 5 in the morning, and they come back at 7 to pick up the 8 o'clock workers. So it's still the same, nothing has changed.
So they're just charging now for it. Is that correct?
Yeah. Well, that's on the event night, but yeah.
That's what I was going to mention. And possibly event nights, you might have more riders potentially, but that's not something that we track.
And it's still gonna be just employees even for events.
Okay. Okay. So on page 9 just continues with the different types of expenses. I didn't really see anything out of the ordinary that I wanted to mention. Everything seems pretty consistent as far as expenses. Obviously for the month of December, you didn't have a whole lot of events. So obviously your entertainment contracts and things like that aren't going to be as high as they were for November. But other than that, they're keeping pretty steady as far as expenses. Oh, the report was missing? Yeah, we just emailed them directly to the NIGC, whoever at the NIGC just reached out to us. And we just sent them the whole packet again through via email. We haven't heard anything since, so I'm assuming it was taken care of. Yeah, I'm sure they would reach out to us if it wasn't. But I think just they thought the calculation sheet was missing. We're not sure how or why that would have happened, but we just emailed it to them directly. Yes, ma'am. Okay. Yes. So, the last time that they experienced this, they did have a cancellation before, and if I remember correctly, how they handled it is they just rescheduled it, and all those people kept their tickets for the future event. That's how they handled it in the past. I have not heard anything about the one that they were just canceled in January, so I'm not sure how they approached it. To my knowledge, we have not seen any refunds. And that's how they approached it last time, is they didn't offer refunds, they just, basically you just held your ticket until the next time they were here. So I think they've already rescheduled. I'm not sure. Did you? Yeah, I think they already rescheduled. So. Okay. The one thing that I wanted to point out on page 11, you had asked the last time I was here to break out the operating transfers between the hotel and the actual tribal distributions. So far to date, for this fiscal year, we've paid $113,000 for the hotel renovations. So we'll continue to keep those separate, so you can see actual distributions versus the hotel distributions. As of December 31st.
Okay, now, can you clarify for me again?
Uh-huh.
What you're calling money for hotel distributions, is that included in the distribution to the tribe?
No. So those are the special distributions that we get by resolution, that says we're gonna transfer, 68,000 to cover hotel expenses. So that has nothing to do with the calculation to the distribution to the tribe. It's completely separate.
This dollar value is times back to their dollar value, what's on
The hotel's books.
the,
On what?
general fund.
Yes, for that tribal distribution line.
That amount of 132,904 was somewhere in their
Where is the hotel books?
There's a bank account for the hotel.
Okay,
Renovations and it ties into that.
okay. I don't know that side of it, so I'm not sure.
in a separate line item.
Getting trouble with renovations, fund 01908. Well, there's a budget, they have a budget amount of 27,000 because that was what was left in the contract, but the record should talk that.
Yeah, definitely. Because what we do in-house, just so you're aware, since we do both the tribe and the casino, anytime the tribal distribution or a hotel distribution is done, we can just cut a check in our facility and literally walk it across the building, and they take it and they deposit it. So it's pretty simple for us to do distributions between the two. So it should absolutely, I don't know, the hotel is a part of the tribe's books, so it should be on there somewhere, absolutely.
Renovations.
So-
The renovations.
So this payment we did last week, did that come from our distribution or from this hotel fund?
If there's one casino has excess funds revenue, that's what the quote has. It comes from that and it goes to the benefit, It is, she just said. it should
She's
be-
referring to the
I'm sorry,
tribal
I was
books.
still confused.
That's okay. So,
You see it now?
Well, I see it, but I heard somebody else is not seeing it, so I want to show them.
Okay.
yeah, so it's totally separate from your actual calculated distribution. It's just excess pledged revenue that you decide to take from the casino and just give it to the hotel. So we just literally do a transfer from the casino to the hotel. The distribution is calculated prior to that, so it has nothing to do with that. No. No, we keep them separate so you know how much your distribution is, and that's in your tribal book, completely separate from the hotel, because it's two separate.
Just so I'm clear,
Uh-huh.
that 50,000 we paid last week to builders for the hotel remodel
Uh-huh.
came from this excess revenue, not the distribution.
Right.
Okay.
Yes, you are correct. Okay,
Thank you, Pat.
good? Okay. The next several pages are individual departments. I usually don't go over all of them. So I'm gonna flip to page 23, which is table games. So table games actually had a decent month, and so that contributed to some of your increase in your revenue. Their drop for table games, which is the amount of money that's coming in on the table, just like a drop in the machine would be, wasn't that substantial, but your hold on the tables is really good for the month of December. So the tables didn't pay out, which is good for you guys.
It would be down, so it would come back up, so it's kind of like. So we need to,
Yeah,
that's that one, yeah, okay.
yeah. So if you turn to page 44, it's just more detail on table games. So it tells you what your drop is by month, and it also tells you your hold. So I think what you're referring to is you look at your hold percentage. You went from 20.8, which is good for table games, to 6.1, to now to 22. So you're seeing that, which you don't want to see that, and that's something you probably need to watch carefully.
Yeah, I think that's what we're talking about, the budget commission, on the whole.
We're talking about table games. Are you seeing what I'm talking about on the whole, where the, yeah.
You had the EPA. How come you don't have the EPA separated out completely?
Because it's all considered revenue. Yeah, it's all the same.
Yeah, but if the casino manager is telling us that, what, 25%? Is that what he said? 25% of the casino revenue goes to EPA?
He said, but I thought, I didn't think he said EPA, but that's it.
Yeah, card games. He said card games. Yeah.
Technically, UTH and blackjack are all considered table games where you're playing the table. A card game is poker, and you don't offer poker. So, but what we were talking about is that fluctuation in hold. So you had the high hold, and then you have a really low hold, and now you have another high hold. It's something you probably want to watch carefully to make sure you don't have counting cards or bad dealers or any kind of theft going on. You want to make sure that you're watching that carefully. Because the drop seems good. I mean, the drop in November and December were pretty equal. It's just that hold is what changed your revenue so much. So.
Unless you remember the discussion on the
Yes.
Okay. Any questions about table games? Okay. The next page is 24 is marketing. I just want to point out we did include that little dark line that to break out the concession discounts and the promotions in-house so it would make it more clear on page 24. I went backwards. Yeah. Same thing with page 25 of food and beverage. Oh, yeah, sorry.
And I guess that's good marketing and everything.
Uh-huh.
But, since I can't see December's gaming liability,
Uh-huh.
okay, the magical 8th anniversary.
Okay.
Paid in October.
Uh-huh.
Paid up.
Okay.
Wasn't any cash or marketing taken out in October for the magical 8th. And then in November, there was $1,000 taken out of the reserves under gaming liability.
Are you talking about the progressive
$15,000.
reserve? Okay, just want to make sure I'm in the same place.
The thing about it is, he's telling us on December the 2nd that $27,093.28 was taken out of the retired progressive.
Uh-huh.
And yet, I don't know about December, like I said.
Right.
We don't have that.
Uh-huh.
There was 8194 still left, and yet it was supposed to be spent 2793.
So how that works is anytime they take any machines off the floor and they leave that money on there, so that's going to grow. And so, and I know that,
That's why I wanted to say September, because from what I've talked to, is there were no machines retired in September.
so I don't know if there were machines retired in September. I know when I looked at December to send you that report, I double checked to make sure that the amount that he was supposed to spend all of it, as my understanding, and make sure that there were several machines that actually was retired and that did make up the difference. And so that's the $8,100 that you're talking about approximately, that they had that much in retired progressives in December. I don't know about September.
In November, they should have 8194, they should have anything left, unless, like I say, they retired something in September, and I'm being told that no games were retired
So that report that we sent you, have you had a chance to look at it? Oh, did we send it to you? The retired progressive report? So we,
You can work that out with them.
okay.
She'll resend it.
Yeah, I'll resend it. But basically it'll tell you how much was retired and how much was used every single month, and it'll just carry it forward. Yeah, so.
That's what I'm saying, that the 2796, if they're saying that they spent, it's not showing on the books that way. Unless, that's why I say, I need September,
Okay.
because I'm being told that nothing was retired.
Absolutely. We'll get it to you. Absolutely. Yeah. So we'll make sure we get you September's, and then I'm pretty sure that Sandra has October, November, December.
We don't have to send.
So you can put those, right, September and December?
Excuse
You
me?
can resend those.
Yep, absolutely. Yep. Yep. Is that something that, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
She can send them to you.
Yep. Absolutely. We'll get them sent to you. And if there's something that you're missing, just let us know. I have a card, and I'll make sure that you get it, and you can just reach out to me directly if you're missing something that we should have sent. Okay? So the same thing on food and beverage. The yellow section is just something that we break out specifically so you can see how many discounts and by type of discount that they're offering in both the food and beverage and the marketing department. And I know last time there was a little bit of confusion as to how those are added up, so we put that dark line in there so you could see those differences. On page 29 is your event center. So for the month of December and November, you actually made money in the events. Made $14,000 in November and $7,400 in December. And on page, one of these pages back here, on, I don't know what page that is, 50 something. I can't read the page number, I apologize. But this report that looks like this shows you the events. It's on 50 something, so if somebody finds it, let me know. 50, okay. I apologize that when you print it out, it cuts the page numbers off, so I can't see it. But on page 50, it shows you the individual events and how well they do. So it looks like Mickey Gilly and Travis Trent actually made money. So.
What's that credit card discount?
So every time they use a credit card, you get charged, or
With the fees, I see that, you credit card fees, you get the discount.
so every time, like I said, every time you use a credit card, either StubWire or the credit card processor is going to charge you for allowing to use the credit card. So Visa, MasterCard, Discover, they have their own fees, and so they charge you for allowing them to use your credit cards.
What is this on discount?
Just a
It's
description.
not a discount, it's not a discount for using a credit card?
No,
Okay.
no, it's just a credit card fee. Okay. So
Are they saying that's for the people that set up tables?
probably, I would assume that that's probably what it was. Did they charge booth fees?
They charge booth fees, but it's free to go in.
Okay, but you charge the vendors for setting up.
They do, yeah.
I don't know. Is it free to enter?
Pretty whenever I look at stuff from on,
Yeah, that's probably what that number is.
How many booths do they have?
I didn't even go to this often.
Okay.
I have a question, on the bank bill on page 45?
Yep.
When you were talking on there about it being under,
Uh-huh.
can you point out where that is?
On number 11, 11A, so it's 97 under what it should be. So if that means you're in excess or deficiency, and for that day, you're under by 9,700. Page 45. But if you was to take into account all your bank information, the drop, the money that's in the machines, all of that, then you would be almost 1.3 over. So potentially you have the money available, just on that day you didn't. The cash on hand in the casino on the floor. Okay. On page 46 is their debit card purchases. Nothing really out in the ordinary. Obviously your Facebook is usually the highest charge that they have, and it just accumulates. Any questions on that one? On page 47 is your vault purchases. So anything they purchased out of the vault using money from the vault. Same thing that we're used to seeing the cafe purchases, with the exception of the Travis Tritt concert. On page 48 is just your head count by department. So over the last few months, you've lost a couple of people. Page 49 is the bank balances report. So we had already kind of talked about this a little bit. The casino has $1.17 million in all of their accounts as of reconciled 12/31. Okay. We already talked about the events. I'm guessing it's page 51, is the eGame Daily comparison. So that's just to compare your coin in, drop, win, hold percentage, and number of machines played to the same equivalent day last year. So you want to compare a Saturday to a Saturday, so you can see how you're doing for the year by individual day, by day of the week. Says obviously you wouldn't want to compare a Saturday to a Tuesday. Makes no sense. So we compared those for you. Okay. And the last several pages are your marketing expenses by line item. Yeah. Marketing is a lot.
Radio put that.
Did that Facebook thing cut that? Was there something about that in the past?
Yeah, 'cause that was always the charges with the debit card.
I don't think it has. I don't.
It did cut back one year.
Maybe it has. It's 2,800. So I think it has. The comps. That's really not unusual to have a lot of comps. I think once they wait till the day of the show or right before and they have extra, they just want to get people in the door. Yeah. So the benefit to an event center is obviously incremental value. You want to get those people in the event and then into a seat to play. So I think that's the...
Do we have, track that?
I don't think so. We've had a conversation about doing some marketing analysis, and that's a different department than mine. And we don't currently track how much coin in would.
It's how would we know? I mean, there's no way to.
It's very hard.
The thing about it is, if it's gonna have one, it's always on a Saturday.
Right.
So it's hard to track.
Right.
If you have an event every Saturday.
Right.
a month,
It is hard. Right. It would be almost impossible to track that way, because if you have an event, you can't compare it to a day that you don't have an event. But that sheet a couple of pages back, the eGame variance, if you knew a day of an event, you could look at that Saturday and compare it to one that didn't have an event at the same time last year to see how you think it did. Unfortunately, it is very difficult to track incremental value. Same thing with a restaurant. Usually a restaurant never makes money. It's just there to keep patrons in their seats, to keep them staying in the casino and not going out the door, because usually once they leave, they're not coming back. So the events kind of work the same way. It's very rare that we see events make money. And this month, in the last couple of months, your events had made some money, so.
One of the ladies from them, I think actually did go, on marketing.
Did she?
Yeah, what?
Rachel? Yeah.
She sent us just a,
Yeah. So one of the last meetings, they had looked at a marketing analysis, but I wasn't involved in that, so I don't. Unfortunately, it is, like you said, it's very difficult to track how much value that's bringing in. Because you got to offset the expenses that it costs. So.
All the expenses that they get are not charged for that event.
Yeah.
And so why, in a sense, every event ought to make a profit because all the expenses are not being charged to.
Yeah. Yeah, there is a notation on that event spreadsheet that the individual marketing expenses aren't reflected on that report. Absolutely. Because you have radio ads, you have television spots, you have all this stuff that deals with individual events, and that's, again, something that's very difficult to track. Yeah.
So it looks like
You don't know for sure because you have all of, chances are you did not. If you add in all the individual marketing expenses, chances are you didn't. And like I said, that's not unusual at all by any means with any event center, any kind of amphitheater, any kind of show. You usually don't make money. It's just to get people in the door, and then hopefully they'll play, and hopefully they'll stay and play as part of the whole entertainment package, as you will. So.
Any other questions?
Any questions? Okay. Did you find December's? You need to resend it? Okay, perfect. And then financial packets, October, November, December? Okay. Financial packets.
December, we need the whole pack. Yeah. September, we need a worksheet for what
Okay. Okay. I'll make sure it's sent.
Look at email anytime we don't know and get it right.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I think you already have my contact. I have one card, so you'll have to tear it in half and share it.
Fight over it.
I'm telling you this, so she won't be dependent on me, she can open it up herself and look at it.
That was perfect. I got your email, so we'll make sure that you're included on that as well. Thank you all. Thank you. Have a good evening. Bye.
Here's this one, it's just missing that one page. She said that, Pat, here you can have this one.
So, if the other job members want a financial review, then you need to get a copy of it.
She's a member of the and oversight of funds. She can do a comparison like she did a while ago. And that's the reason I let her take it. But any tribal member can request information from me, and I will provide her with my.
I have a request. I would like to request that we set up a meeting with Sullivan Insurance. They have some concerns, I have some concerns with the tax commission and the gaming commission. I have some questions about our coverages. I don't think that we're covered the way we're supposed to be. I have not received, either commission has not received a schedule of the coverages and the premiums or policy or anything. I know that they issue those because the CD and WIC are on one policy together, but they can break them out.
We talked about that last you if you want to set up a meeting, but y'all can always contact Sullivan and request that stuff.
But anyway, that's why I'm asking when I said to set up a meeting, because I contacted them, I've not received any responses
Okay.
on my request to have a meeting. So if you can set that up and let the commissions know, so that the representatives from each commission can be there to ask questions, because our questions aren't being answered. And we really don't know, at least for the tax commission and the gaming commission, we don't know if I suspect that we're not covered as far as contents go. And I'm particularly concerned about the new surveillance, equipment that we have installed at the casino. And so that's what I'm concerned.
Okay, I will set up the meeting, I will still the chair, and, but like I said, y'all can contact Sullivan Insurance at any time to get some of that information, get that information.
She said she tried to contact, she has contacted them several times,
Okay.
and they have not given her the information, they have not tried to set up a meeting, nothing has happened. She's tried,
Okay.
I've tried, our employees have tried.
Good for you, They always come and ask. So, we're doing that. All right, tribal administrator update, that's next. That's you, Audrey.
I have nothing to report. As of right now, I was not prepared to give anything, as of right now. I'm just taking on duties. I know, sorry to let you down with this time, since the last time I met with you guys, I gave you a package. And I have been very busy, making sure day-to-day operations are being carried through. For instance, I'm setting up meetings with individual departments to see where we are as far as our budgets and our grants and our reports, and to see what our long-term goal is in these departments. And really hear them out, because I think a lot of departments really need to be heard out. And it's like for tomorrow morning, I have one set up with TYSP to see what if they're meeting their objectives. This morning I met with Tribal Social Services to see what our financial status is. They are now using LIHEAP funding to service tribal members. So there's a lot of day-to-day activities that I'm trying to ensure that are continuing, and that we're progressing and being professional as possible, and confidentiality must be ensured. And that's what I've been doing.
Can I ask a question? You
Sure.
said that they are using LIHEAP funding, they have LIHEAP.
They are using LIHEAP funding now, and as of, I believe, the report that was given to me, there were 29 applicants for LIHEAP, and I did ask the director, are these clients who have received help from tribal funded, have they already received services? And she said yes. These are, repeat applicants. So my concern is making sure that there's tribal members, there are other tribal members who did not receive services do have that ability. So making sure, I don't know how we can put a control on that, but making sure that others do get services and it's not just the repeated.
Do you know how much they need?
But
Off the top of my head, I do not. I believe there was not as for tribal funded or for LIHEAP. For LIHEAP, I can print out the budget, but I don't know right off the top of my head.
isn't there policies?
There's policies.
Yes, they have policies, but
But I feel like there's a guidelines on
Yeah, guidelines of how often you can apply for it.
the LIHEAP different than the tribal funded.
There's about 12,000 left at the end of December in LIHEAP. Because like DHS, don't they have, like you can't just, but I mean, if you got help from DHS, you're not eligible for tribal health. It's supposed to be verified. What I'm trying to say is, if I got help from DHS in December to pay my gas bill, then I would have to wait a certain amount of time before I could ask for assistance again. That's what I'm asking. Do we not have those kind of guidelines?
Yes, the revenue for the cleaning.
So-
They don't correspond with the tribal social services, if you use the
They
DHS.
should, so, I mean,
We just want to know that they have to be set up already.
we don't have any policies that forbid it.
So it's not a year, it's like a week.
Like both of them within a year. Yeah, one life and one.
So I could get a lucky and one next month get the other one?
Yes.
Tribal social.
If you qualify,
Because
you're
they're
separate
separate.
by for it. 'Cause
Because they're separate guidelines.
And you get it starts October 1st, and you can get it one time a year, between October 1st and September 30th. It's not a calendar year or a rolling year, it's October 1st to September 30th, anytime is what it has been. All right. Anything else to update on?
Is there any questions that the executive committee has?
I'm still, or we've mentioned in the past that we'd like to meet the program directors and the program people. Like we did at the casino.
Yeah, and we talked about that, and we were going to set it up for this afternoon, actually, was when we were hoping to do it, but all this craziness has happened, so we didn't schedule anything.
There's several directors that welcome that. They really would like the executive committee to come and visit them, come and see what their program is about, let them explain, inform you of their program, and they're very open to that. There are several who I met with, and absolutely, I don't see a problem with that, and I honestly think it needs to be done.
Is this supposed to be on without the president, or is it?
Yeah, well, without the president, because I don't want you intimidated, just so that we can, like we did at the casino.
Can it, right, but can it be general, and then if y'all want me to leave, then that discussion can happen?
That would be fine, but like we did at the casino, where Lynn was at, but I mean, like, we can have a meeting, we can start off with everybody, and then you can leave, and even she could leave, and it could be just the committee, not even her, she shouldn't be in there. Because to them, that's gonna be intimidating.
Yeah.
And that way they can talk to us, yeah, they would. But you notice at the casino, when we got rid of Glenn and, make sure Glenn wasn't there, they opened up. So, I would still be able to have that.
Sure, if you,
Yeah.
just let me know, I'll send an email out and set it up. And I think a lot of policies need to be made for our tribal funded programs. We need to go back and revisit a lot of those because sometimes there really is none. And from what I have witnessed and experienced, there are programs in place, but no guidelines, no policies. There's just money in a fund, and we know it's given to a director. And there really needs to be something in place.
Do you think that is something that the individual directors could help create? Because they would know the inner workings of the programs.
Absolutely. I think it definitely needs to come from a director, and it can be looked at by the executive committee or the president, and really put a lot of work into it, not just coming from
And that's what tribal funded program.
tribal
Because
yes.
the others have their guidelines.
Correct.
Okay.
And that's one thing I was wondering about that, caregiver program. We have that tribal funded, we could change the policies to where it doesn't necessarily have to match with the federal law. And it could be used in different ways for people because with the federal one, it has to be somebody who lives in that household to get respite service. And we could design it, since it's our funds, to provide actual direct services for those that need maybe someone to come in once a week and help clean and help them take care of stuff. And we could create our own policies
We
for
need
it.
to be careful about that, because there are guidelines for program generated income. When you're using federal funds and it's considered program generated income, there are guidelines, and it's written into that accounting manual that we just did. You have to use those a certain way. We're looking at those right now too, because the indirect cost, Kathy's been capping the indirect cost at 15%, because that's what the indirect cost rate is. But on I'm gonna bring this up today, she's supposed to talk to them in our meeting, to see if that could actually, the full amount could actually be collected on that instead of the cap. But program generated income has to be treated differently, you can't just.
But that's not program generated
Yeah,
income.
that program is.
It's not program generated, it's tribal funded.
Kathy's?
No, the caregiver program.
Oh,
The caregiver
I think it's
program.
the child care program.
No, the
Yeah.
caregiver program.
There's a brief guideline on that one.
But we don't have guidelines for the tribal funded portion.
What's really iffy about this tribal funding is all those rules and regulations that you put in with your
Federal.
supplemental.
Right.
Should be whatever.
But there needs to be
And we need
guidelines.
Mm-hmm.
I want to use for an example, after-school program. We have no policy, nothing written up for after-school program. And to me, that's scary because we're dealing with children and parents are trusting the director and whoever's
Do they
in that
have-
position. As far as I know, there's just
Medical release.
there is none of that in place. I have not seen it.
Mandy worked a bunch on this stuff
She
last year.
did, and she said that was just for the summer program. But as far as the after-school program, they have a little form, but there's nothing, it's nothing really detailed like it should be. We were taking them to swimming during the summer, that's kind of scary when you don't have really a lot of release forms.
I'll get that stuff, but Mandy, she turned that stuff in.
Yeah, she said she turned it in, but that was the end of what she heard of it.
High liability.
Absolutely it is. And also, I think another thing, since insurance was brought up with Sullivan's, we need to definitely look at our package for the community center and see if we have insurance so that it can cover our children that are in the after-school program. Because if anything was to happen, say a ceiling tile falls or they hurt themselves on equipment, we are liable for that. And that needs to be definitely taken into consideration and looked into.
So we don't have policies as to adult-child ratios?
No.
I know down here when I worked in there for a while, that one program, everybody came in and used the equipment and signed a waiver stating that, or we wouldn't hold the tribe responsible. We did have a serious accident, when we had it downtown, and, the lady, tried to get help from the tribe, but, reminded her she signed that, and that we weren't liable for it, so she dropped it, but she,
But that's the same thing too with, programs transporting individuals in their vehicles too, because that happened also.
Yes, so that was taken care
Right,
of.
absolutely.
Yes.
And just to piggyback on that, I know we've got a lot of people listening to the stream right now, and I want them to understand that, we're not saying that the kids can't come to work because we're mean. That's a huge liability for the tribe. What if a kid were to stick their hand in a paper shredder, or if a diamond cap fell? I mean, that's what we're looking at. We gotta protect our tribe, and that's, we still have a child care center, we have a school readiness program, and then we have the after-school program. So there's a lot of options. We're not just trying to be jerks.
So we just need to find ways to make sure we have insurance. I'm sure we have the insurance on. We just need to make sure we have insurance. We don't keep them way away from the shredders and take precautions.
Yeah, we don't know what's laying around the community building. It could be tools, we don't know that. And I'm not going to go walking around making sure that everything's kitty-proof either. That's something that. But also, I didn't say that. I'm just saying that is a liability, and we need to make sure that insurance is in place so that we are covered and all our grounds are covered. And it's not about whose kids they are or whatever, or if they're Wichita kids or they're my kids. I'm just saying it needs to be in place.
That's right.
It's a safety.
have an accident out there and cause a traumatic brain injury. And
Absolutely.
think of the long-term effect. So,
And while you're doing policy, I haven't seen anything, that prohibits, relatives, of committee members putting in for, assistance to any of our programs. I have never seen it, or employees of, people that are on this committee.
There's no policy against it, it's just as long as it's fair to everybody and everybody's getting.
There is
yeah.
none, and our personal policies doesn't reflect that either.
Right, but if they're getting more help than everybody else, then that becomes unfair.
Well, Terry, I think if that's something that we need to address, then we need to address it, but if there's nothing against it, I mean.
I'm saying if they're getting more help than everybody else, then yes, that is unfair, and we'll address it at the council meeting.
And
There's a lot of other things that are going on that are unfair. And there have been.
I had directors come to me, and as I was visiting with them, and they've rented, their experiences has been that, say, an employee who's a tribal member, they used all their funds for whatever it may be, or they have reached their limitation. And something that is frustrating and hard for them to keep control on is the fact that they go over the TA, they will go to the executive committee, or they will go to the president. And more cases, the experience has been help them, even though they have exceeded their amount of funding. But the directors have been given directives to continue funding certain individuals. Now that was before me, but that is what we're talking on that subject. So I'm just elaborating on what
I'm going to make this clear, because if they're eligible, then they can get help. And usually if they come up here, we find another, like tribal fund and social services, if they can't get help through there, and there's money in line, then let's help them. That I can take care of. If it's anything more than what they're allowed, it comes in here and this committee approves it. So I want to make that clear. I follow the guidelines, if that's all they're allowed to get, then that's fine. If we can find other resources that they're eligible for, yes, I will help them as best I can. And if we can't, and they need to do a letter to the committee, then it comes in here, and that's how it's done. So, I know I don't do that. I don't approve something over for individuals, it comes in here.
Okay. Anything else?
But I know, like you say, if some are getting more help than others, like you had 15 applicants for a program, and you only had one person that was related to an executive committee member, is that give too much help? If there's 30 people and you only had one from this family that applied and got help, they were eligible for it, and that's what I'm talking about. Well, you know, if there's a bunch of different programs, and that one is getting help in all of them, or you got 5 or 10 from a family getting help from all of them, but you have to look at everything. I mean, you can't just cut it off and say, well, you know, you're related to so-and-so, so you only get help one time. That's what I'm saying. You have to have a policy in place if you're going to say that, you know, you can't get help. That, you know, just like some of the stuff that was brought in about people getting more help than others.
Well,
I think you need to prove it.
are the ones that are requesting after their funding has run out in other sources, are those the relatives of family members that are coming in here and getting the above and beyond?
Because that would seem like those are the ones getting more help than other tribal members. And as to my I don't know if family member requests that come here.
But I did speak with a few departments, directors, to make sure that we are clear that no dollar amount of tribal members who have received any services or any tribal members' names are going to be released to the executive committee or to the president, because that is a confidential matter. And the reason why, another reason why I did that is because tribal members do not come out here to do personal business for it to be told on the internet or in public. That is private, and I have talked to some directors, and I told them I hope that we keep it confidential casual, professional, respect each other, respect our executive committee and our president. Whether we are in disagreements, if you're tribal, if you're non-tribal, just let's keep the professionalism from 8 to 5. What you do after 5, I have no control over. But let's not agitate any situation. So I did cover
It's not
that.
affecting our committee work either, because I don't know, other than casino, and I can post twice about what's consumed on Facebook, asking me what's going on with our tribe, who's saying this, who's saying that. And basically I said, you know what, I don't know, I don't ask questions, it's my tribe, I love my tribe. It's sad that it came to this, choosing this side, we are all one tribe.
Absolutely, and I agree.
And we have to support each other.
There
We
is,
have kids looking out to you. And if they're gonna see our president flag, and if they're gonna see us committee coming against our president, and we're not coming together, what an example are we setting for our kids?
All I'm asking is that it be fair across the board. Somebody gets a $4,000 wood stove that's a village daughter, then everybody that wants a wood stove should get one. I mean, that's all I'm asking for.
can I make a comment? Can I make a comment? Can I make a comment?
Same thing with housing. If people are getting behind and allow more than that, then everybody else should be instead of getting evicted and stuff like that. All I'm asking is to be fair. Well, you're, so do you think housing is always fair to all people that's been up there?
I'd say yes. I've been on there for a long time.
But nobody's ever been allowed to.
And all that's been done on staff, the board of involved, taking care of our staff.
And we work with them. I mean, especially when we have kids involved, our own tribal members, but they know how to play the system too. You know, a lot of times our heart gets in there, and we let them go, and we let them go, and we let them go, and I mean, it's tough, but I mean, sometimes we gotta stop sometimes. I mean, yeah, we pretty much work with everybody, I would say. I can't think of one that we haven't. I think we've been fair.
I know there was one brought up by one of our board members about former executive attorney and allowing, waiting until his house payment was caught up before they went to final. I don't know, does that happen? Does that happen? That he would get behind and then wait to file after he got caught up? We
I
never
would
do
say, yeah, we get reports every month, there's if it's 30 days, 60, 90, it goes on it. And I haven't seen that.
all I'm saying is I get a lot of reports and it's just not very, and I have programs that I think housing.
To him personally, I said, I feel like there are people that should be on this list, but I don't think their name's on there, I said, you don't see it. And he said, when they veteran, it's automatic, but everybody, I said, I don't think so. And he said, I'm gonna check into it, and then he told me later,
I'll entertain a motion to approve resolution 1740, approving bid applicants.
I'm open to bringing she sent out what, an email?
Yeah, I have a backup, there was some additional information that actually was before now, because we're on the live, we don't get into the details, but,
Mark, did you read that email?
to get
Yes, I did. I didn't get the answers that I was looking for, so I'm just gonna abstain.
entertain a motion to approve the bid applicants. Good roll call, Dennis.
Just to pull it over here.
Right now, so I know that, or, you don't know it. I do know there is no, well, let's see how many views we've got on this. It says, we've got 8 online right now. We've got 8 online right now, but, there's a lot of people sharing it. I don't think so, but I can list you some that are texting to me constantly. However, we're having an issue with the audio stream going in and out because we're Frankensteining our stream due to the last minute situation and industry systems taking my equipment. So I would like a motion at the end or whenever that I can take the video stream that we have here and Pumpkin's recorded audio stream and lay them together and rerun.
Good morning. Cause that's.
I know, but they probably heard me say that nice and loud right above that mic, so they're anxiously waiting.
Well, that's just very quiet.
Like Nancy said, listen, speak up.
Leslie, you watching?
Yes.
Oh.
You look very handsome.
I've been getting texts, you're telling me that.
Well, we have this here, you know, but the one that was questioned, it says birth certificate, so apparently it's on the birth certificate. It is, but it was on the birth certificate. And it wasn't an amended birth certificate. You can't tell us how years old. I mean,
And if they're not old and you have questions about it and you have knowledge of it, I think it's one of the worst things you can do about it. Because I know of somebody that is half they married this woman and put he took that child's hands. So what you know about it? Nothing.
Is the microphone hearing? Rather than the audio, they can't hear you and Jesse, and that's who they're asking.
They never could hear Jesse.
They say I'm talking like that.
But, I think, but on that enrollment, I think Michelle does get into it thoroughly. And, I'll make a motion that we approve those as presented.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye. Opposed, abstentions,
One.
2. Motion carried 4-0 on 2. Vanessa Vance and Matt Robertson. Next is industry systems.
I'm gonna list here real quick. Let me just introduce you.
He gave us an update, they spoke to you about the VPN from the smoke shop, the IT guy for the tax commission. They're working on the school readiness program, this was just after the meeting that we had the other day. Industry systems. The first, they give me 3 quotes, one is for Sightline antivirus solution, the second quote is for a backup system, and the third quote is a mail hosting services. I put those in here. The antivirus is $180, this upgrade. The cartridges is $896.25. Email hosting is $525. And I just stuck these in here without being sent today, so I don't know by the time I look at it.
Yeah, is there a reason they're going with cartridges as opposed to external hard drives? There's a big difference in price.
They change out those cartridges, and I don't know if it's the server or what, but they change those cartridges out.
Yeah, see, when I worked, and they may need to have the server set up, but when I worked for the software company, they did the backups to external hard drives because it was so much cheaper. So you're talking about 1 terabyte is like $50.
Well, I just want to say, I sat in on that meeting with Industries, and we've had this since what, 2014. They've been our IT people, and it's so disturbing to realize that, you know, the information we asked for, like 3 months ago, they came that day. They had 5 people going from office to office just to tell us what computers we had on there. And in my understanding, that's information they should have had. And here they're talking about antivirus, when shouldn't that be in place? And again, there's no contract for their services. There's no information because we have no IT policies. That's what it basically came down to. And they admitted we haven't done a backup in some time. And what's even more disturbing is that when we ask about prior to the server they put in place, nobody knows what happened to the data or where it is. Did you find the server, or do you even know if it was our backup server? You said you found it, but you didn't know if it was the finance.
Robert needs to that they sent that to me, that was the server stuff, and whoever wants to look at it is welcome to. I don't really need for it, but somebody
We have a need as a tribe to have our data, Terry.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying whatever you're going to do with it right now, then, I mean, it's in there. Whatever you want to do with it, then it's there. I was just telling you it's there.
You're not seeing the big picture about what we were talking about. The need for archival data. We don't have that. And when you go in and you record over and over on the same cartridge, that means it's overwritten, and what other data that might have been gone is gone. And we need to have a system to where archival data is maintained. And like Matt's saying, external hard drives are a lot cheaper than this cartridge system. And we can have a system to where that data is maintained on a regular basis and is available.
How long is this contract?
Doesn't have a contract. And it's not even a service agreement. All we had was a quote.
We need to figure out what we're going to do. Get somebody else in the yard, and we need to figure that out before we just get rid of that. So, get out of that. Just request something for services or for IT. And that's all, I mean, that's all it's going to.
I'll make a motion to go out for bids with our IT services.
I have a motion by Shirley to go out for bids for IT services and a second by Jesse. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, motion carries 6-0. I put the wage still on there. I'm crazy about it. Reduce it some.
last time, that's not the issue. The issue is with the placement of our positions within those scales.
But, so, we need to figure out a way to get it done, and what we wanna make sure is that we're not picking and choosing the individuals, maybe the wage scale, and the position, but not tie it to the individuals, that's all.
That's the problem. We have individuals that don't meet the requirements of their positions. So can I make a motion that we, dismiss with the wage scale at this time, but retain the thing? Retain the schedule. The schedule for. We're not gonna adopt it as it is. Yeah. We're definitely not gonna adopt it. Can we maintain application form? Okay, maybe for future use.
We'll be able to vote on the president's salary, but maybe we have to vote on the committee and decide it also.
Really? Yeah. If I give my presentation to them, maybe they'll accept it. Since it wasn't accepted in here. Bob, that was my motion. Motion to
Dismiss the wage scale?
but retain the document for future, for revision and possible adoption at time. Yeah.
What about all the people that have ideation? But,
Well, then that was part of what Gracie was supposed to get for us. We asked her to give us when the person had the last evaluation, what date it was for everyone, because that's out of scale too. And we need to get it all in line, because we're not gonna go in and adopt something that gives people an automatic raise when other people have not had their evaluation in a considerable amount of time. We wanna be fair going forward.
right, and it's not to give them an automatic raise, it's to put it in place. Some people will get a raise, some people won't, but it's just to put it in place so that there's something.
Well, we've already taken care of that, so.
Okay, we never do.
But prior to, so you're intending to put it to a vote of the people and taking the responsibility from the executive committee. Is that what you're trying to do?
People vote. I mean, if they were to vote to put it back in the meeting, then that's fine.
Okay, but can I finish my comment?
Yeah.
Prior to this wage scale even being introduced into the tribe, employees were evaluated yearly and given increases accordingly. Yes or no?
They're supposed to, but I would say that it's very unfair that they're given because there's no rhyme or reason to it, really. I mean,
And that's the issue. People got low wage increases, but they don't for whatever reason.
but that's why we went and had somebody be paid to have this wage scale.
But it didn't address the discrepancy that was already in place. It kept those people who got those raises in a level when they're not qualified for the positions.
And I understand that, we need to take care of that, but at some point, I mean, we gotta find a solution, I mean, we just keep
Well, it's not going to be done by adopting a document that I'm pretty sure the majority of us here do not support. Okay, let me make this comment. When the wage scale was first brought up, the new ones, I don't know if it was done before we got here, I can't say, but there was a supplemental document. Yeah, supplemental document that had the evaluation and suggestion of what percentage of an increase on there was that not? There was something. No, that was some concern me, Terry, because you came and you gave us a document, and then when we asked questions about it, all of a sudden another document showed up. Why weren't we giving them both at the same time? Remember, because you were the one questioning about where they came up with the wages.
What talking the wage scale? We've been working on the previous committee started working on this a long time ago. So they
But I'm telling you that when we came on board, you gave us a document. When we asked questions, all of a sudden another document.
there was
to dismiss the wage bill at this time, but to retain the document for future revision, consideration, revision, and adoption, possible adoption in the future.
So, do I have a second?
I believe Matt seconded, didn't you?
Oh, I have to ask for clarification,
Okay.
restatement of the motion.
Okay. And that's my motion. If someone either wants to second or they have their own motion to accept or twiddle it in, please make that comment now. I'll second your motion.
Second. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, abstentions, motion carried 6-0-0. And Tribal Social Services Fund, I keep getting calls about that program. Y'all want to put any more money in there? And probably Audrey,
That's the tribally funded social service.
yeah.
Yeah, that's the one we've been asking about.
We would need to know if there's going to be any money, more money.
We need to know if we're gonna have any more money coming in.
Exactly.
So I just need to know, we need to vote whether it's funded or not funded, so that we can tell them that there's absolutely, because I keep telling them, we're talking about it, we're gonna make a decision, but I need to know what that decision is right now.
And our income, our distribution from the casino
was 124,000
for December.
But we have expenses that have to come out of there. We'll have a loan payment that's coming out. That's 30,000.
It's around $20,000.
20,000, and how much we'll pay, what, 50 or 60 for museum per month?
I'm not sure what the balance due on that is, but we have that paid.
People listening right now, I want them to get a full picture of what we're looking at.
And I think when we went through the finance package, I mentioned that we're getting less than a third of what we received from the casino 2 years ago when all these programs were set up.
Yeah.
And it said that we received 1.3 million? And we have a budget that's considerably more than that. And for this quarter, 2 to 3 months, we didn't get a distribution. And, you know, although we did get one this month, we really shouldn't be projecting more than what we received for this quarter, which is $300,000 pretty much. And again, I'm going to say we were so lucky to have gotten that run money. $270,000. It was a blessing for us because otherwise we probably wouldn't have been able to move forward and we would have had to cash in our investment money or look at some other revenue. But our budget is based on casino revenue. And
It doesn't have to be, we have $2.5 million in the tax commission.
Okay.
That we can use for whatever we want to use.
Why are we mortgaging that at 7% interest with a bond payment? That makes no sense.
exactly.
The land's paid off, the only thing we have mortgage is the hotel.
And still, we're not covering the interest on the payments. And we will. We are going to have to face a balloon payment. And at 7%, that's, you know, and it's variable. So the interest rate goes up, it can go all the way up to 9%. And again, it makes much more sense to retire a debt than for us to project and use money that is not going to be coming back.
And that's what we did with the land, that's what we ended up doing with the land, we just didn't do it with the hotel.
But we had the money to
But John, yeah, and this is how I look at it, is, no, we're not broke. I'm not telling anybody we're broke. But we have considerable downsides in our income coming in. And if you have a budget of $3,000 a month, and you have an income of $3,500 a month, then you can pay all those bills and have $500 put in savings every month. But all of a sudden, you have an income of $2,700 a month, you can't keep paying $3,000. And plus, you have nothing to put in savings. What that means is you've got to cut on some of those expenditures that you have in your budget. Whether, you know, if it's a household budget, if it's entertainment or clothing or whatever, groceries, whatever, you have to cut where you need to. And you want to cut and still have a little left to put in savings. You may not be able to put $500 in savings, but if you can at least put $50 or $100 in savings, that's good. That way, and that's, we're not trying to get rid of every service for our people. No. But we do not want, I do not want for us to continue to spend as if we had $4.5 million coming in extra every year, and then say, well, we've got this much in this account, we've got this. You can only take so much out of that savings account before that savings account says zero. And in a few years, I'd be darned if I want us to be worse off than we started when we, before we ever had a casino. You know what I mean?
I'm not saying you're not cut, but like this tribal funded social services program, that is one.
It's a tribal funded.
And that's one of the biggest programs that helps a lot of people. And all
It does.
There, let's cut other places.
But also, if we're going to worry so much about funding that, there needs to be some guidelines.
There is guidelines.
There's guidelines. You've told, I know I can't keep my mouth shut for nothing, but you have told us in the past that a person, several people living in one house come and get money from that program. That is not a guideline to me.
Right, so we need to fix it.
That's what I'm saying. We need to fix it. We don't just need to keep putting money in there because to fix the problem or to satisfy, we need to fix the problem. And if we had $4.5 million coming in, I wouldn't care. I mean, that's what this money's for, is to help our people. But if you don't have it, you got to start cutting back. And you have to start making some guidelines. One of mine would suggest, if you've got 5 people that are on the road living in one house, they can't all come and get money. I mean, especially all at one time.
Well, and that's what that's what we need to do is instead of just keep.
That's like me. Would I be allowed to go to that tribally funded and get help? I'm a tribal member. Yet, I have a job. I have a husband that hands me a check every week. Do I need it? No.
No, but there's sometimes something major comes up.
Yeah, something major comes up. And I've got money in savings to cover for it. But what right do I have, this is how I look at it, what right do I have to say, damn, my car messed up and I had to pay $500. Well, I'll take $500 out of this, out of my savings to pay it. Oh no, why should I do that when I can run to the tribe and let them pay it and keep my money? I know everybody don't think like me, but damn it, people need to start realizing there's not just you, it's everybody. And we need to be fair. And we can't just keep take, because you keep take, pretty soon there ain't nothing to take.
I agree.
The cookie jar will run empty.
I agree.
Okay, we put $225,000 into tribal social services.
And that was
to,
when?
that's what it was budgeted for this year. Around 100, huh? That was for fiscal year starting October 1.
So,
Close to 100,000 of that budget is going for salaries. The amount we had for tribal services come to close to right around 100,000. We've got $10 left out of the services. But we have 109,000 in that account, and it's primarily for salaries and indirect costs.
When you say salaries, are you saying, you're talking about, you're including the insurance and all that stuff already?
So that's the reality. What we put out was around $100,000 in services. Now, previous year, we had close to $300,000 in that budget.
We had more money in there. We didn't fund it as much because we were hit with those 2 months with no income from the casino, and that's why that decision was made. And at this point, although we did get a distribution these past 2 months, the total of those distributions would equal 1 month 3 years ago. So we're like I said, probably about a third of what we had 2 years ago. And that's the realities of it. And I'd love to be able to help everybody. And if we had intended for everyone to receive $300 in assistance, we would have had to put $1 million in there. And we didn't, because it's never been like that. The idea is that it's a safety net for people who have no other resort to go to. And it's not realistic for us to think that we can just fund anybody who comes and asks. That's the seriousness of the situation.
So learning about finding solutions and trying to help, I want to help people. So what I did today is I took this budget and I looked at it. There was an expectation that wage scale was going to be approved in October. So when they budgeted their budgets, they put in money for the wage scale and stuff. I didn't get through all of this.
We need to cut her cake. Cut her a piece of cake.
The quill cake.
The quill cake.
The hard-earned quill cake.
So that's,
That's not on.
200,000 for services.
Huh?
The previous year, we put 300,000 in it, 200,000 for services, and then 100,000 for salaries. So that's why people continue to get services.
It wasn't 100,000 for salaries. 72,000 was in the budget for salaries. There was 13,000 for medical insurance. And I just want to make that clear because it sounds like they're getting $50,000 a piece.
Yeah.
And there's $5,600 for fringe benefits. But what I did is I went and calculated the rest of the year, the physical year, for their salaries. There's about $15,730 extra in that line item for salaries that could be moved down into services.
Yeah, it should be.
$3.87 in one line item, $1,224.80 in another, $1,162.89. And a lot of this was based on that wage scale being passed, and then fringe benefits being applied to those amounts. $751.71 in another line item, and $830, and there was a couple I left because I wasn't sure if like dental. I messed with that one. So I wasn't sure if it wasn't really much. I wasn't sure if it got taken out for this month or yet. But what I'd ask is they allow me to do a budget modification for that program
And put those funds back
to
to.
services and so.
I'll
They
second
work
that.
with the tribal administrator to make that they work with the tribal administrator to make that happen.
Does she know how to do, she's working on Denver on one, and I don't know that she knows how to do the budget. Actually,
She's our
put the budget
administrator,
budget.
and I'm certain that she will
Well-
figure it out.
How much was available?
For the excess money,
What, 15,000?
budgeted for the wage scale.
Oh,
Back into service.
Do you want me to do it, or just take care of it to get it done? So we can, okay, so they've got some down there, I think. Okay, have the tribal administrator do it. Okay.
While we're doing this, I need to ask a question. If that, we're talking about this one program, if they budgeted,
That's what I
looking toward getting this increase in the wage scale, how many other programs?
All of
That's what I was
All of the
gonna ask.
programs.
she said she's working on it, but she just,
So there'll be money left in other areas.
They're always, as long as they budget, and we always encourage them, if it's a tribally funded, not to use that if you don't have to. I mean, if.
I know,
It's your federal
but there's
funding
been
first.
times that they have used it. Thank you.
you're welcome.
They have used it, and that's my concern. And I just want to say right now, I don't think there's one of us on this board that want to cut services, especially, when people need help paying their utility bills, their gas bills, their rent. But like they were explaining, you know, when we put that 300,000 in that 1 year, that was year 14, that's when we got 4 million from the casino. And I know it sounds like a broken record, but I've said this before. At that time when we were budgeting, I said we need to be careful how we're spending our money. We're not going to always get this much from the casino, so we need to use it wisely. Not all at once. We need to try to budget it and be careful when we do. Well, we have come to that point. And I know it's been said that we all said we're broke, and the reason that people keep saying that is because look how much our budget is, and yet look how much is in the bank, and we're always having to transfer money around. And we transfer so much, I finally lose track of it. And it's a good thing without accountants to take care of that. But I just want everybody to know that I'll be the first one to say I want to put money out there, because I know that there's people that are elders, those that may not have a job or whatever, and they do need help.
Those with kids.
Yeah, those that have, especially small children, that, you know, we're all in favor of that, but we have to know where the money's coming from, and it has to be there before we can say, yeah, let's give it.
But my thing is let's find a solution to it. Let's just not say, like this, let's look at the budget and see, you know, is there a way that we can get some more out of that? Maybe out of some of the other programs on the tribal funded side if they're not.
That's why I asked if we had other.
Well, like that money that's in there in that, caregiver program. We don't have any clients for it. That's a good 14,000 right there.
You gotta remember on the caregiver, that end, you have to remember, you mean, on the
The
federal side or
tribal
side? You have to remember, the caregiver program ends March 31st for the federal side. That budget has to last through September 30th on the tribal side for the position. I still think some of that needs to be moved over to the actual federal side, and that's what they're supposed to be working on.
Will it not be refunded for the new year?
It'll be refunded
In March?
in March.
Okay, so even though the federal ends at the end of March,
Another month and a half.
it's gonna be,
Oh, and they need to look at that, and that's what they're supposed to be doing, is looking at that to see if it can't all be moved over into the federal side. That's what they're supposed to be looking at.
and I don't see why we would turn it to the federal side when we only have another month through the end of March. And that money's not being used. But, may I make a comment? If we have a federally funded caregiver program and we have a tribally funded caregiver program, and they're using money out of the tribally funded, but there's money left that needs to be spent by March 31st of the caregiver program, why are we even funding this program? Because obviously, they don't need additional funding. Or if they do need additional funding, they may not need as much as we're putting in there. So we need to, you know.
And we're going to go back to the policy.
Yeah, but if they don't have any clients, there's no sense in putting tribal funded monies in there.
But we'll usually have this discussion with the tribal administrator, because they need to be making sure that that stuff is done. There was an email sent to them on the 9th, Aileen or John the 9th. They're supposed to be revising those budgets and stuff, and hopefully they get those done, because we want to make sure we spend all that money before March 31st. And I mean, somebody has to stay on top of that and make sure it's done.
And that's the administrator's job. I'm sure she will take care of it. But if we, also, if we do change the guidelines for the tribally funded one, where it's not just respite care, then there would be more people that would probably be able to be utilized that program.
Before we start a new program, we should have guidelines in place and policies, and that's one of the things that the administrator said she would address.
There's a one-page guideline for that, and it's based on the other. The only thing that's different is the age. We lowered the age so it could help some of the people
that are younger and that have medical difficulties. Yeah.
Jesse had a motion to revise the budget for the tribal funded.
I second it. Oh,
Matt, second, all those in favor say aye.
aye.
Opposed, abstentions, motion carried 6-0. And that's all I'm asking, that we find solutions and look at stuff and try to help our people. All right, next thing is anything else in old business? New business, special general council meeting?
I have a new business thing I want to say before I forget about it, because I always forget. Can I do mine first? Because I will forget. You got yours in your head. I should have thought of this back when we did the CDIB cards. But is there any way that we can take off our social security numbers from our CDIB cards? They took off social security numbers off a driver's license for a reason. And because I don't want someone stealing my social security number. That's something to think about.
You can ask her not to show them anymore. I was thinking they took them off for a while, but I don't know. But the only reason why you would want to leave them in, because some people that's their own. I mean, some people that's the only form of ID, and if they have to go cash a check or something, they have that, and that's why you would want to leave. But you can ask them to take it off.
But to cash a check, that's why they took it.
But and the other one is
Well, I just know that one ID card I had everything you need on there to access my IIN account. Had my little number, had my social security, had my date of birth, everything was on there.
I know what they have been, but that's something to think about because of the theft of identity theft that's been going on. I've had that happen to me once, and I don't want it happening again.
Mine doesn't have social security on it.
Really? Mine does.
I was thinking some of them don't. And maybe there's like, when you get into that database, there's like different cards, and maybe there's one on there that doesn't have it, maybe the one she's using.
I think that the non-photo ones definitely have the social security.
Mine has a...
Yeah, the non-photo ones have the layout.
Mine has a photo, and it's on
All right, let's move on, and I'll ask Michelle, and we'll find out what's going on.
Okay, thank you.
Special general council meeting, that's just the agenda. And then the executive secretary position, Audrey didn't bring this up, now put it on here, there was just a request by Joanne to move back to the county commission liaison position.
Well, I make a motion to approve her request to move her back to her previous position. And are you putting this, that's what I'm gonna say, are we asking that we approve this agenda in this tribal council meeting?
In the governing resolution, it says that I'm able to call the special council meeting.
Well, yeah, you can call the meeting, but I think we should have some input into your agenda.
It says in there that I can call the special council meeting.
We'll have the option, we're following Robert's rules of order, that we just to the agenda when we call meeting orders.
Okay. All right. We had a motion on the floor to move Joanne back to the county liaison position. And second? You all got her letter, right? She said she emailed it out. It's in her packets too, and she described why she needed that. And second?
Could you restate the motion?
To move Joanne back to the county liaison position.
So is that gonna create a vacancy again? Yes.
Yes.
So should we advertise for that position? Yeah. So you want a motion?
You want to include that in the motion, Jesse?
Go to amend to add that?
So we have a motion by, Nelson's going to make a motion to move Joanne to the county liaison position and to advertise that position again.
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
You second, Jesse? Jesse second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, motion carries 6-0. 1A block just right before, after they done the thing. And there's a request in here from Dylan Williams, just, rescinded, he's just.
Rescinded his request.
Yeah, rescinded
Okay.
his request, yeah.
I approve that we rescind his request and do not issue any assistance.
I think that's really sad that it came to that. I
No
really do.
lie, that is so sad that this got so ugly over nothing, yeah.
No, I'm not gonna second it. I think you should keep the money.
Well, I'm making the motion because it was his request. And if he's got, if he's got that much pride in himself that he would rather not have it, stand up for the boy.
It's a shame.
Mm-hmm.
It really is.
He shouldn't have been.
So if they don't want to accept that, then don't accept it. But then if he doesn't want it, if you give me a check and I don't want it, I can just tear it up. So.
Okay, so, no
They-
second?
No second. There we go. I never.
Alright. If nothing else, I want you to
No, I would like to say something. I just, we got along great tonight. I think it's been indicative of how things have gone this entire term. Even in your president's report, when you look at it, all the motions are approved unanimously. You created the impression that we're nothing but fighting and arguing, when in reality, we've only fought and argued once or twice, and it was over something that was minuscule. So, I just feel like your letter was really unfair, and I would appreciate it if you made a retraction on it. And I'm not saying the whole thing, but a parts of it, because it was really unfair, and it was untrue.
Well, I think we should have a council meeting and allow people to talk about our programs and stuff like that, and have some open discussion about that.
Well, I'm talking about your personal attacks on the committee members.
It wasn't a personal attack, it was the truth, anyway, we can have this discussion.
Terry, you're saying it's the truth, and it's not. You put stuff out there without even consulting us or talking to it. It was an affront to the entire committee.
I did bring up the thing about the rent and people being allowed to go way over, and that was brought up and discussed. There was no, maybe we made a mistake, we need to take care of it, and we shouldn't do it again, and anything like that. There was nothing like that, so, anyway.
Excuse me, we did talk about that, Terry. And you put other things in there that had absolutely nothing to do with, and your half-truths in there without letting us even respond. And you put it to the public. No, you said it to the public.
Yeah.
I got asked by non-tribal members.
Yes, you sent it to the public. And that's our concern, because you shouldn't be doing things of that sort.
I have the distribution list that was used. A lot of them are ex-employees that are not tribal members. A lot of them are people that are interested parties outside of our government. They are not all tribal members, and there's 210 names on that list alone, not to mention how many people forwarded it all over from public Facebook statuses that I, as media, were intentionally blocked from. So that was, it was quite aimed. That newspaper would not have carried that equipment. That's why I put it out. That you did not take the deadline, and therefore on Friday I requested of the committee how we were going to get that information out. So Saturday morning you took it upon yourself to use other channels instead of letting the committee decide how that information was to be disseminated.
I make a motion that all information concerning the tribe, our meetings, our discussions, and everything, go through our tribal administrator.
I'll second that. I'll also,
And that would be through the minutes, and people can come request to look at them like that.
And for the newspaper, like the request that I had asked, how was that information to be, you know? Because right now it was just the meeting things, so would that, I would like an answer to that request.
I was having trouble with the administrator with the address about that, and the thing was going on with the drug thing, but that's probably something, it was addressed to her, that she needs to take care of it because she is your supervisor.
Okay, well, Terry, the reason I'm making this motion is because we're asking that you no longer make statements and post without it going through us first. So are you agreeable?
I understand what you're saying.
Are you agreeable? Are you agreeable?
There's a motion to, concerning tribe discussion and everything goes to the tribal administrator. One second.
second.
Matt, second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries 6-1.
Are you agreeable?
If our committee does the right thing and does what it's supposed to.
Okay, then I make a motion that you are hereby censured from putting out any information unless it goes through the tribal administrator.
I have a motion to adjourn.
I have a motion on the floor.
I don't have to recognize it. You can't stop me from putting stuff out. Tribal members. It makes it look like you're guilty. I mean, that's what it does.
You're guilty of what, Terry? It makes you look like an idiot. That's the problem.
Other business members and they will kind of done, they will be out.
They're coming to stand for
Yeah, so if they want to take it out, that's fine.
I need to ask you a question. You made a comment about at the meeting that we would be discussing programs and stuff. But what I saw on the agenda didn't seem to indicate that we were talking about programs. So it all looks like a personal attack.
That's the way I feel, is that it's a personal attack based on the fact that we're applying rules and regulations that are cutting your wings, they're clipping your wings.
Well, you can't. You feel that way because I'm putting stuff out there about how certain people get special privileges on our committee and their families, and that's why you don't want me to have a voice.
Is there proof of that? At all?
That's why.
Because it is your opinion, and those above and beyond.
That's why I asked earlier for proof of these things that are being said.
As a tribal attorney?
It's not your concern.
Well, yeah.
I want volunteer time from here on out.
Terry, you said you never have no special privileges.
Honest, I put what I've had in there, like my education stuff. I mean, I always put that stuff out.
Education, like far as taking a motel over, doing what you've done.
Do nothing except try to oversee stuff, but somebody else can rather do that stuff.
I just want to see one correlation of overspending or favoritism to a tribal member or to a committee member's family in tribal funds. I just want to see one proof of those allegations because I know that there are tribal members that have situations that they need abundant economic funds. And it was just said in here, those are not the family members or committee members that come in here and get those above and beyond funds. And there is nothing saying that I'm any less of a tribal member entitled to any funding that is provided to a tribal member just because my mom joined the committee. I am my own person. We look alike, we talk alike, we might dress alike from time to time, but I'm a separate person from her.
And all I'm asking is that people show up to work and do their jobs and do what they're supposed to do. Did you have something else, David?
No, that's not all you're asking.
David, did you have something else?
Yes, I was kind of curious. This is what I'm aware of. Is there any trouble you had between you and the person for United Builders?
Oh, Matt brought that up yesterday. I mean, if y'all want to get it, y'all put that out there. Y'all want to get
I'll bring him in here. Let this guy tell me he's live, they can tell the person who told me he's live.
That's fine. I'm not getting into that stuff, and that's totally not true.
When you said lot of things went through that, went through, but then, but you're saying no, there's nothing happening.
And would somebody please make a motion that I requested earlier due to the audio issues, that I can have the audio feed from Pumpkin's recording to lay over the video for those people that are constantly texting me, wanting the missing gaps in what they're hearing right now. Thank you.
Here.
Just a motion for Pumpkin and Miles to give Amber the audio. Shirley second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carried 6-0.
What about her
I
last
also
motion?
like to motion that from here on out, all of our committee meetings are streamed.
I'll second.
People have a right to know what's going on.
Until we go into executive session.
All in favor say aye. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carried 6-0.
Okay, what about her last motion?
She can't censor it.
She's refusing to recognize it. Yeah, she's refused to recognize it. No, that's not.
All right. Can I have the motion to adjourn?
That's what motion should be recognized.
That she be censured from putting out more of that verbal.
You know, if it was the truth, I wouldn't have a problem with it, but I feel like it's nothing but a publicity stunt.
Why would I
And not giving us, but you are giving us a chance to respond.
Well, you can during the council meeting.
During the council meeting. But you just got through saying, if he puts something out there, if you want to be that kind of a person, but is that not just what you've done the last 2 days? Is that not just, it's still, yours was a personal attack. Yours may not have been a personal attack to one person, but can you not agree that it was a personal attack?
Yeah, can we have an apology?
And I want to say one more thing that I've tried to say 3 or 4 times, but I keep getting interrupted. So I'm going to say this according to your letter that you sent out. Since I've started, my number one thing I have said is, it should be fair for everybody. If we can't do for everybody the same, we can't do for one. And there's been times of stuff that you commented on in there that I said, no, because is there not guidelines? And you said, well, and you encouraged, well, we've got this extra over here, and that you have put it to us that this is what you wanted. Well, then, don't act like you don't know what I'm talking about. If somebody's bill being more than what is allowed, but we've got this extra. Well, we've got this extra from that same program from last year. So we've got the money to use it. Can't we just use it even though it's a little over what that budget is or what that guideline, that limit for that project should be? You've made it known that you wanted it done. And when those motions were made to approve them and second, and everyone say, I kept my mouth shut. And you can think back and you can remember. Because if you can't do for everybody, you shouldn't do for just 1 or 2. And if you have guidelines, you stick to the guidelines. But it's not been done. And you are guilty of it also. So if you want to go out and publish a paper or a letter to everybody and God about what you think is being done wrong, then you need to take blame for your own mistakes too, because you've done them. And don't say that you don't, and don't just try to pilly-ass what your mistakes are, because you've made them too.
I agree. It's my responsibility as president. When we have a tribal member that comes in there and they can't get services from one of the programs and they really need it, I encourage them, write a letter to the committee. Bring it in here. I do offer suggestions, but it's up to y'all to vote. If you vote no, you vote no. If you vote yes, you vote yes. But you have to own those votes.
And we finally know, and then you blasted us. And that's what happened.
Because you call on this committee family members. I get
So, you keep bringing up stuff that's happened years ago, Terry, and trying to blame us for stuff that's happened years ago that we have no impact on. And then you blast it out to the public. That's totally unprofessional, and it reflects badly on you and us. And that's our concern.
Because I get mad whenever we buy a $4,000 stove and we won't have $4,000.
Then why did you even have it on their job?
And that's the problem. Y'all don't see anything wrong with it. This is our people. It's
See,
not-
that is exactly what I'm talking about. I said no. Nobody's putting that stove in my aunt's house so that she doesn't freeze to death. I spent a week in the ice cold because I had no electricity, but I don't get one.
Okay, let's adjourn.
But you encouraged, and I'm sitting here saying no, and you're giving. You're bringing up something. You say options, but you say, well, can I get a motion to overdone? We do not have the same program this year.
So if we're going to spend the $4,000, we're going to put it in the program this year.
It was from last year.
It was in last year's budget.
Yes.
It was in last year's budget.
Yes, it was. And I was funded from the previous year and didn't get service.
And once you got your house fixed, then we cut off the funding for everybody else.
And you know why we did that? Because we had 2 months with no income.
Anyway, we can discuss this at the meeting and.
Yeah, we're still in the meeting. We're still a committee here.
I just thought I could bring up other things too, and I just.
And you want to, so obviously bring them out.
We all know, another publicity stunt.
Yep, that's all it is.
Publicity stunt.
Yes, it is, Terry.
Why would I do? I work for my people. I do. I work.
You work for your people and put that garbage out on Facebook. That is.
Yeah. If I'm doing wrong, I'm doing wrong, and people can speak.
If you're going to refuse to work with this, the next step is BIA mediation. That's the way it's going to go.
For the court mediation.
You know, I just want to say one more time, that stove you keep talking about, there was $150,000 set up, and we said we want to help our elders repair their homes. Okay, the first year it was done, 15 housing hand at that. This past year, we set it up again, and I said it took up too much of their time. We need someone out here maybe to handle it. So there was someone selected to do that. There were 15 the first year, I think, and then 15 spots the second year. They got up to 15,000 that they could spend on each one. I can understand out of those 30 people, one of my relatives put in, my daughter put in, find the apartments connected. So that stove alone didn't cost that much. But for all the connections and stuff, it was the installation. And there's some on the floor, it comes to 4,000 something. I know you got it to the penny. That's been put out there time and time and time again. And it's been remarked that all my people got help. She was the only one of my daughters and granddaughters that put in for anything. One out of 30. And how is that not fair? When she was eligible, she passed the age where it said you had to be this age to be an elder. She qualified for it. That's why earlier in the meeting I said we need to put guidelines out there. If we're going to say no one from the executive committee family can get help, then put it down in writing. They're not eligible. Or from any commission, if their people aren't eligible, then put it down. I couldn't find anything anywhere where it said that they can't do it. So why do we have to hear that over and over? She got 4,000 something, out of 30 people, one, how does that make it seem like all my people are getting help?
I guess it's just that's just the problem. I just don't. And here's the other thing. I've been in other tribal members' homes, and they were on that list. And there's things they could have asked for that they didn't. They wanted the basic needs that they needed things fixed. And they didn't ask for more than anybody else. And if they would have, how do we know?
So the only fair thing I can say is put all them 30 people out there, how much they spend on their homes and what they got done. All 30 of them instead of bringing one up all the time.
They're not elected officials, though. We're elected officials. We should, if we're going to vote, we're going to vote.
It don't matter. Daughter's not, her daughter just sits on the commission.
Same way you said in housing, they put a handicap tub in my house. I wasn't the only one that got served. I was an elder. I had just had back surgery. And there were 6 others. There were 6 of us all together that got help. I can name all of them, but I'm not going to because they were eligible, I was eligible, and yet it was wrong for me to get it.
Has your home ever been remodeled by the housing?
No, I borrowed money from the bank and I remodeled it. And I've got the papers to prove it.
Jerry, on the sale, you got to come up with what the sale of child marriage compressor is. Why don't somebody go around to people who really need this stuff, since the people already paid for it, and paid for it dearly, waiving on what it should ever cost, but they paid for it? Why can't you go to the ones that need a bed?
I mean, you're asking me, but this,
Anybody, why don't you, instead of selling, you have to make that much money on it, period.
okay, maybe like $4,000 or something, but it goes back into that.
What's $4,000?
I know, but it's been going back into that renovation account to help pay for the renovations. I mean, it's not a lot, but, I mean, we can do that. We can take that, if they wanna appoint somebody. If they wanna appoint somebody, but here's what's gonna happen. I mean, who are gonna pick and choose that gets them? I mean, they're cheap, they're pretty cheap. I mean, who's gonna pick
I would think our social service department would know who's in need.
Well, they're not doing
And
that.
I don't understand why our social service department isn't helping people locate outside resources and actually doing more than just forking over money. Helping them link into other programs that they might be eligible for and that could help them as a household and identifying what their true needs are.
Maybe we'll have the tribal administrator in here next week, because those are things that they need to handle with the program directors, if that's what you want.
We already had a tribal administrator for a year. Almost 2 years that did nothing. And now we've got one who's been in less than a week and a half, and you're just on her constantly.
Well, it's either you're gonna blame her or you're gonna blame me.
She's only been there a week and a half.
When it suits you, you blame me. When it's something you want, and that, you can't make it
That's
your
where it
mind.
goes with me, I get it.
You can't make it
So
your
I
mind.
guess we just,
Can we adjourn then?
No,
What's about-
you just got to say next week, so when's our next meeting? I
Next
got nothing
Tuesday.
in my book.
Next
And I
Tuesday.
don't want y'all changing it on me.
We didn't change it, we had scheduled the interviews. I don't know if you were here.
I
that
have,
meeting.
look, I have it right here, interview for, and look, I have it in mine too, where we scheduled it with my book.
and so I don't even have a meeting for next week.
5:30 p.m. next Tuesday.
And who's that with?
I don't have anything ready yet. Audrey will be in there for TA.
And I'll be streaming. See, I had them down there. I had that down for Tuesday. That's why I said before we adjourn any time we need to. We get down, we're working the meeting.
Next Tuesday at 5:30.
Tuesday. Monday, but I got them down for Tuesday, that's why I wasn't here yesterday.
Okay. Can we have a motion to adjourn?
Because we did both at the same time. That's what we said. We just talked the other one. But we're gonna make sure everybody's on the same page, so we're all here.
5:30 next Tuesday.
Before we adjourn, I'd like to say one thing to the committee. I ask that you all consider seriously removing Terry to save us some trouble, because we are coming serious, we're coming
Well, if
fast.
you're serious, then you need to bring something up.
We're gonna do it. I was hoping y'all would do it, because, you stepped in until you say this long, as I'm going against the rules. And that's what Pat did. I promise I'll bring it in.
Shirley, motion, a second.
I'll second.
Nancy, second. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carried. 600, 829.
And I would have just left it. You're welcome.
Are you gonna need it? It should have saved the video to the account. What's your sign in?
You don't say.
Oh, okay.